B. Austin here, War Room Sports. I'm here with my man, Charles Modiana. We call him Modi, of POPSspot.com. Great. We just came from a great conference. So in the spirit of that conference, we want to talk to someone who is very instrumental in covering the social issues within sports. Talk to me a little bit about POPSspot.com.
Well, I would love to talk to you about it, but first thing I want to say, I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing at War Room Sports.
Man, thank you.
To put the work in every week on Thursday for years straight, you don't miss a beat, that's tremendous.
3 years.
3 years. 3 years.
Yeah, we gotta make sure.
And I'm trying to get the perseverance that the folks at War Room Sports has.
Humbled, man. Thank you. We appreciate it from the bottoms of our hearts. But tell the folks about POPSspot.
POPSspot stands for Power, Oppression, and Privilege in Sport. So we try to look at sports from a different angle. We had a race and sports conference. We'll look at it from that angle. We'll look at it from an angle of privilege, whether that's white privilege, that's male privilege, whether that's heterosexual privilege. The inspiration for the POPSspot, it actually came out of a workshop that was done, that I had done at the White Privilege Conference a few years ago, and someone said, we need to start a website, and let's look at this angle. And what that means is, a lot of times we look at race angle, for instance, but let's also look at the privilege side. So not just what's happening with Barry Bonds, but we might ask a question, how come in Europe everybody knew that Lance Armstrong was doping back in 2004, but nobody in the media talked about it here in America for a decade?
Great example.
How did that happen?
Great example. Talk to us a little bit about the inspiration. Why, how did you get started, and why did you get started?
Well, you know, as I mentioned, we got started based off of that workshop, but we believe there's a void. And we believe when we talk to people at conferences like this one, everyone says, yes, I know I'm not crazy. I knew that something was going on in the coverage. I know that the coverage has been unfair. I know that, and back when we started, going back a couple years ago, whether it's Barry Bonds, whether it's a new athlete of the day, whether it's LeBron being hated today as a villain, but today he's a hero. We know something is happening the way athletes of color in particular are portrayed, and we want to shine light on it, and a lot of times do that in quantitative terms. Put numbers on it. Let's count articles, because when you talk about race and you talk about privilege, people will say, oh, you're playing the race card. Oh, you're imagining something. So we try to quantify the number of articles, the coverage, so that we can push that kind of thinking aside and get people to say, you know what, I'm not crazy.
True. How can other writers engage in this form of writing for sport, particularly in the sports arena? How can they get involved? How can they take on the social topics and tackle things that mainstream media kind of lets slide to the side at times?
Well, for one, they could tune into War Room Sports at 6 to 8. I don't want to belabor the point, but they can do that. Secondly, let me say, we welcome writers who are thinking about this type of writing. Please contact me, and we have a place for you to write. But also, we also want to influence writers with much bigger platforms. We're not giving up on mainstream. We believe there's a place, and there are some very good writers in mainstream. So that's not the message. But we also know some of the best writers in mainstream, they have editors. And their editors might squash one story and in favor of another story. So it's very rare that you have that type of control. At this sports and race conference, we know Dr. Lapchick broke down the numbers, and I think it was 97% of all editors are white, and they're male, and then there's corporate dollars behind what you could write, which is not to say that just because you're white or just because you're male, you're automatically biased. But when you have a collection that is so homogeneous, you're not going to have the type of diversity and thought that you would have at another place. So we're trying to combat that. Just one of the many ways. But there are many tremendous writers out there who've been doing this for years. Obviously, Dave Zirin's been doing this for years. Dr. Lapchick's been doing this for decades. You guys are doing some great work, and the tremendous work of mainstream writers. But the way the corporate system has changed, when we heard about Ralph Wiley today, just a tremendous writer, I question if he could write the same way today, if he would be permitted to write the same way today as he was 15 years ago.
Wow, great points. B. Austin here for War Room Sports, here with our homie Modi of POPSspot.com. Make sure you at him on Twitter, at POPSspot.com. War Room Sports. We'll catch you.
Wait, it's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated.